everybody. A warm welcome into Sit Still, Look Pretty. It's been a hot minute, Miss Priyanka. I have to say. I'm sure our listeners know this as well. It's been a good 2 months since we've sat together and talked. And boy, before Miss Priyanka delves further into why, can I just say I am so excited to be back. Like, I am actually buzzing. And I'm just so glad we're back, man.
I feel like these are the moments that it always reminds me how much Sister Look Pretty means to us.
Yeah.
You know, when we take a break and like we miss it so much, it's like it's always at the back of our heads. And I feel like the person that should know this more than anybody, it's you. Because I called Priya 2 months ago after Yashwara's episode exactly. And I was supposed to be scripting for the next month episode. So here's why. There was no episode for 2 months. I'm going to tell you all the truth. Yashwara's episode received so much of love and like it was overwhelming number of streams. And being the one that scripts for Still Look Pretty, I feel like it's a huge like roadblock or something that I faced. I suddenly felt like I cannot believe I'm saying this on camera, but I suddenly felt like I don't know how to script for the next episode because I'm like, I don't know if like
we can top that. You know, like the pressure is very real. And it felt a bit too real after that episode for sure.
Yeah. I know a certain amount of people will say that, I mean, you guys spoke about love. So obviously that episode is supposed to like will do well. But I don't think that's the reason why the episode did well. I just feel like it was special. That episode was special. It was cute.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was so hard to script. But after that, I sat down and I thought about it. I don't think it was just that. I think at that point of period, I was finishing up my final year project. There was so much things going on in school that I really couldn't handle the heat. I was like, how do I script for it creatively and also be there in school? Then after school ended, I was like, okay, I went to celebrate. And after that, that's when I told myself that, you know what, Priyanka, it's fine. Sometimes in life, you need to take a break. So that's the reason why I didn't have two months worth of episode, but now we are back. We are back in a good way. The life update is I've graduated.
Woohoo!
I've landed myself in a full-time job.
She's a degree holder, everybody. Let's give Miss Priyanka a round of applause. That's right.
She made it out 4 years later. Okay. Now I'm supposed to introduce, after all the rubbish we have spoken, let's come back to the topic of the month. Can time only tell all answers? And I thought it is a very fitting topic for us to talk about after a 2 months break. I feel like many reflections happened during this 2 months break. I feel like you and I were blessed with a lot of good news that they don't know yet. We will tell you all soon in the upcoming episodes. But I don't know about you, but for myself, when we were blessed with great pieces of news, I was like, it made me look back at like our journey so far. And that's why I felt like, okay, this is really a very good topic to talk about because from where we started to where we are now, please touch all kind of food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot believe where we are at. I'm very grateful. I feel very blessed that we journeyed this far together. Many more years to go ahead. But then again, I really feel like we should talk about this topic.
Before we delve into all kind of other scenarios of how time tell all answers, I want to like reiterate what you said about the fact that I feel like when we initially started, there's always a lot of questions where you're like, that you feel like you don't know the answers to. You're just wondering like, where is this going to go? What is going to come out of it? Is it ever going to be good? Is it bad? Like, and it feels like very overwhelming. And then you have moments like this, right? With time that kind of like reach you, that like quietens all these like questions that are like constantly bugging you ever since we like started. Of course, you'll hear about it later, but I'm also deeply pleased about like the recent news that, you know, we found out about. We are really teasing them.
Yeah. They are going to be listening to this episode and being like, okay, what is the news? But I think But, you know, I calculated like the weeks. The week that we launched this episode, right following week, they will know.
So it's not that long of a wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll be fine. But to bring you on another perspective of how time tells all answers, I have to talk about our Bali trip.
That's right. The whole social media party with us.
Can I just say, the last time I traveled was before COVID. It was our graduation trip. And boy, have I had all kinds of like questions waiting for answers of when I will ever set foot out of Singapore ever again. It felt like it was never going to happen. You know, there was so much going on. And I was just like, maybe I should just like stop torturing myself. Like, it'll happen when it happens. And the way that this Bali trip came to be was actually like really, really bizarre, because in the past 4 years, right, we've had multiple conversations about like, oh, we need to go on a trip again. Like the last trip was our grad trip. We haven't traveled together in like so long. But it never like manifested into like an actual like, okay, let's book and leave. It was just conversation because we had so much going on and like our timings just never matched. It was like, okay, never mind, next year. And then 2024, we were like, you know what? We have to do this. Like, we have to go. Like, I'm in a full-time job. I've settled myself in. You're going to graduate. Like, we have to do this. But even then, like, if you realize, it started to like fizzle out a little bit. We stopped having this conversation because like school was getting really, really intense for you and you were working on top of that. And like, I mean, I was like practically bombarded with like work stuff.
I was drowning in work.
So we didn't talk about it until like I remember I called you one day and I was like, Priyanka, if we're going to do this, like I only have this specific time period. If it's not going to happen, then it's not going to happen. And then like within the next 2 days, like I applied for my leave. We booked the tickets. It was so
we
fast.
went from like nothing to like, okay, but like, it is true though, when she called me, she was so firm about it. She was like, Priyanka, it's either you book, okay, or we just forget about this. And I was like, okay, there's no better way to threaten me when you put like a timeline to it and be like, now or never.
Priyanka loves deadlines. She like thrives on deadlines.
The next moment, I can still remember, she puts down the phone, right? I'm on Singapore Airlines SQ page checking, which is...
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. We booked our tickets, we booked our villa, and like we were like, okay, so now it has to happen. No choice.
But wow, like no freaking regrets. And I feel like the 4 damn years, right, that we waited to travel together, I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like this Bali trip was so special to you and I because of the 4 years break that happened.
It just tasted so much more sweeter. I think we really like made the most of every single moment that we got. I was like, I'm living like it's my last day.
Facial, she did her hair, she did everything else that you will ever expect her to do on a trip.
Excuse me? Priyanka did all those things with me? I was listening to say.
It's okay, we swear to each other that what happens in Bali stays in Bali. So we will not talk about all the things that happened in Bali.
Oh my God.
Now we shall come back to the topic about why time tells all answers. I feel that during the trip, especially when we were going up the mountain, this feels so specific. I don't know why.
We were going to like Heaven's Gate to take like photos together.
Yeah.
That's the mountain you're talking about?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Good job. So it was during that period, right, Priya? Like I can't do mountains, by the way. Anybody who knows me, I get sick going up. But then again, when you feel awfully sick, I also feel like that's when a lot of things hit you times 2 harder. And during that moment, I really felt like, wow, I really cannot believe we experienced pretty harsh chapters in our life. Like if we were to turn back 4 years ago and like go through all the things that has happened, I know there are things that we still openly talk about. There are still a lot of things that we don't openly talk about. But I felt like at that point in our life, I looked at ourselves and I was like, wow, you all both went through this much of things. And right now you all have earned a space in this universe whereby you can provide for yourselves. You can provide luxury for yourself. While for a lot of people, I feel like traveling, buying things for yourself is something that you all don't think twice about. But I also, at this point, I feel like I want to give a shout out to people whereby these kind of things are luxury. And I come from a space whereby this kind of things is still luxury for me because I feel like we work, to get that amount of money to travel. So when you finally realize that every single thing that you are spending is coming from your own pocket and you have earned it for yourself, and now we both run Sit Still Look Pretty, we both have full-time jobs, and to be traveling and enjoying life, and we received good news that we were celebrating about over there as well. Wow, I tell you, this trip hits like premium level for me,
It's one that I think probably will stick with us for a very, 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 very long time. But you're so right in a sense that I feel like it feels so earned, every single time that we were dying and questioning everything in our lives and whether we'll make it out, this feels like a moment to just be like, yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that is the thing that I want to also address in this episode, whereby the topic is, can time tell all answers? I feel like a question that you and I always had in the last few years of being friends is whether or not we will make it. As much as this feels bizarre to tell on the camera, I feel like it's one thing to tell yourself in your head that I will make it. But come on,
we are human.
Yeah. You will still, a corner of your heart will still doubt the decisions that you're making, the path that you're choosing to walk. But then I also feel one good thing that I always respect about you and I is we will never sit down and have a discussion on self-doubts. I know that deep down, it's running in our head, but I know that when we sit down together, we always talk about okay, how are we going to move from this chapter to the next chapter? How are we going to thread forward with Sister Look Pretty? So I guess that that's something that I always hold on to, but I know at the back of our minds, it was always will we make it? 4 years is a long time. Sometimes it truly feels like you're walking in the darkest tunnel ever, not knowing whether or not things that you choose to do will see the light of day. But I feel 4 years later, I'm happy to say that the patience and the hustling somehow
manifested into a reward that makes it feel you know what? I think we are making it happen. I think we are making our dreams come true. I want to soak up this emotion as much as possible, but it also builds the steps higher for what's to come after.
Yeah. I know that in Bali, one of the conversations that you and I were having is okay, every time it's always this happens, then the next one is okay, what's next? But I want to say on this episode that I'm mighty proud of us. And I also want to say a shout out to everyone who's walking through this dark tunnel and wondering to themselves whether or not time will tell all answers. My perspective on this episode is time does tell answers. Yeah. If you're patient enough to wait for your answer, I feel you will get it. But you just have to be very patient, I feel, because the amount of questions we had in the last 4 years. Cheers!
Very true. Very true. Very beautifully said as well. And with that, I think we should move on to the most awaited segment in Sit Still Look Pretty, and that is the guest speaker segment. And today we have none other than Miss Vishaalini joining us in the studio. Welcome, Vishaalini.
Hi guys. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited.
All right. Before we jump right into the interview with today's special guest, let me share about Vishaalini to provide you guys an insight into why she is truly the best person to give a counter perspective for our topic today. Vishaalini is a certified biddy tarot advisor, offering a range of services aimed at providing guidance, clarity, and positive energy to individuals on their personal journeys. Through tarot readings, she assists those seeking direction in decision-making, clarity in challenging situations, and support in self-reflection. Additionally, her energy painting sessions offer a unique take-home experience, combining personalized artwork that reflects one's current energy with guidance from oracle cards to enhance and balance their energy centers.
I already feel so zen. She came in and her aura itself,
oh, you guys are so kind.
We never had a candle in any episode, Vishaalini. So it really creates a nice environment. And I have to say, I'm so excited to have you on this episode joining us. I'm very sure PRI-TEA is also very thrilled and very pumped to have you here. I think the first opening question for you is, I'm so curious. The work that you do, I think it really speaks for itself. When I first met you at an event, and you did she did tarot card readings for me.
You got to learn some juicy information about yourself.
And then my mom forced down the question of please tell me about her love life. She's so concerned that I want to get married. So I felt why I really wanted you on board this episode was because I felt like the way you do your readings, it doesn't make me feel nervous, It gives very calm energy and things like that. And I want everybody out there to also experience such a journey with you. But before that, we want to learn your journey of this self-discovery. How did this whole journey start for you?
Actually, it started off when I was really, really very young.
Okay.
So I've always been a kid that always wondered why, always seeking answers. It could be in different social situations, like why this person like that, or why am I reacting this way? So there was a lot of why questions, and I've always felt like the oddball. So I always wondered, is there a bigger answer to everything, So I started out as that little girl. I had a lot of different creative hobbies. I like to draw, I like to sing. So I think tarot happened to be one of those hobbies as well. And how that happened was, I think it was at my teens. I was actually going through a breakup. And then at that time, we want answers, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, we want answers that why this happened to me, this kind of thing. We have answers. So then at that time, my mom discovered these classes that was ongoing. It was something, I can't remember the name of the course, but it was angel-related workshop, connecting with angels and whatnot. And I thought, oh my God, Amma, I also want to join, So my mom brought me to the class, and I got my first-hand experience at touching an oracle deck. My teacher at that time was introducing angels, or how can you connect with your higher self, and all these things. And I was like, wow, okay. So then she gave a free deck, a take-home thing. So I started doing readings for my family, for myself, very simple readings. And then eventually, because you're a teenager, right? Life happens. So it stopped. That journey stopped maybe at about in my 20s, kind of stopped. And then years later, I had my deck still in my room. Occasionally, I would pick them. And then years later, when things changed, when I was much older, I had this feeling to pick the deck up again. Okay. And that was at another, at a point of my life where I again needed answers and I didn't know where to get them. So then I was like, pick the deck up. That was the voice that said, pick the deck up, go and take it. I'm like, I never touched for years, why must I go and take it? I felt so guilty, making use of my deck. But then I was like, okay, I'll go and pick my deck up. And that was it. And then the whole thing just
You never turned back
happened.
after that.
No, this is a hobby that has stuck through time.
And so this angel class that you went for, is it to teach you how to do your readings? How did you get into the process of how to learn to do your own reading?
When I was doing readings for my family, right, all decks come with a little guidebook. Oh. Yeah. So I would refer to that guidebook and I'll answer questions. But I was using oracle cards then. So at that time, the cards weren't able to answer specific questions, it was just give a overall guidance type of thing. And then fast forward to I think 2020, when I picked up the tarot, I realized that this is very different from oracle cards. These are very new. I need to learn how to use this. So I actually went and self-learned. Yeah, I went on the internet, I purchased books, I sat down, I read, I wrote notes, and then I started practicing on myself and on my family. I enjoy doing readings for others than myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I do pull cards for myself, I didn't really enjoy it. So I have a cousin, Sneha. Shout out to Sneha. So Sneha will let Vishaalini do for me readings, So I'll do readings for her, and that really motivated me. And then eventually I was like, okay, I ran out of people to read for in the house.
I can imagine there's only that amount of people.
No more already. So I was like, I'm ready to read for more people. But when that happens, I need to be sure, really, really sure of what I'm doing. So I enrolled for BD classes. and got myself certified.
Usually, from at least my experience, when I go to do this kind of readings, it's because of the fact that I have a question that is pressing on my mind, and I feel like I have waited long enough. In example, in that 1 year or 2 year, I'm waiting for that answer, but I feel like I'm not getting, and it frustrates me. So I approach like people to read like a deck of cards or to help me out to find this answer. But so that's the reason why it even inspired today's topic for us, which is, can time only tell all answers? Because I feel like we are people who wait for like, okay, never mind, I don't get the answer now. Maybe we have this hope that we carry with us. 10 years from now, I'll wait for the answer to happen. But I want to ask you, just given this topic alone to yourself, like, what is your perspective on this? Can time only tell all answers?
Actually, this question, right, it made me reflect. It made me reflect. It gave me some time to think about this question. So thank you so much for asking it. I feel like, in my perspective, right, I feel like time alone doesn't hold all the answers. Like, there is as we grow, right, we experience different things. We are put in different circumstances, and then we evolve through that process. And then through that journey, when we look back, we kind of have like a better understanding of how things were at that time, what were the lessons that I learned from there, and you get some answers and perspective from that whole journey. So I won't say like there is a set time to know like, okay, 5 years time, I'm probably going to know why that happened. No, I think like eventually, when we go through like a series of experiences, and our perspective shifts, we have a better understanding.
I'm very curious to know, because I think when I was growing up, I think this still happens in like even in my workplace, where I have like colleagues, right, who want to do tarot readings, and then they will like do like tarot reading sessions with like playing cards, like in
Playing cards. Yes.
Yeah, apparently they have like meanings as well. Like if you pick specific playing cards, like they have like their own separate meanings. But I've always seen it as people's like a hobby that they really want to venture into. But taking it as like a professional career, I want to know what made you decide, you know what, I want to do this as a job for the rest of my life.
I think it was the desire to share. I just wanted to share. Like, I had this deck of cards and I saw that I could do some readings, and then I didn't want to like keep it to myself. Yeah, I felt that I can. Let me share. And then I put myself out there. When we do readings for others, there's this thing called energy exchange. Yeah, because we're using our energy to do readings, right? So there has to be like an exchange of energy as well. So at that time, I was doing like free readings. I went online and I was doing free readings. I'll do like 10 free readings and all. But I got a little like exhausted. Yeah, I got a little tired. So then another practitioner friend said, hey, you know, maybe you should consider charging. So I felt really bad. I felt really, really bad when I had to charge my first person, like my cousin's boyfriend or somebody. But then he said, Vishaalini, you have to charge. It is part of the service that you're offering. So then I started to do it like professionally. I started to like do research and see how can I price my services, and then it took off professionally. But the main reason how this whole thing was birthed was because I just wanted to share.
My next question to you is, you did mention that, you know, when you first started out, you used to do readings on yourself. Am I curious, do you still do that now? Like when you're when you're facing something difficult, do you feel like, oh, I should take out a deck of cards and see?
If I do readings for others, right, I can hold that space and I can be very clear in my mind. But when it comes to myself, we have our own anxieties. We have our own fears. So all that kind of like clouds, my approach to the reading. So I try not to do readings for myself. But with that said, when I do readings for myself, they are very beautiful because they reinforce patience. They teach me to be patient. They teach me to like, look here, you're searching for a particular answer, but then there's no such thing as a fixed specific answer. You know, for example, if I want to like talk about a relationship or a situation, and I'm like, I want to hear the answer that I want to hear. You know, but cannot what? You know? Yeah, so my deck always teaches me to be open to the different answers, the different perspectives, and it teaches me to be patient. Yeah, so I may not get the answers that I want, but that's also a reminder lah. So when I meet clients, right, sometimes the answers that they may get is not answers that they want to hear, and it's up to me as the practitioner to deliver that in the most empathetic way.
I feel like I can understand though, to be doing on yourself, it's something that is difficult because when you're doing for somebody, I feel like, there is a certain level of like headspace you will be in. But when you're doing for yourself, you're practicing something that is on your own. It is hard.
Yeah, and your emotions are heightened and whatsoever.
Yeah.
So when I do readings for myself, I try to ground myself first, and then because the cards will reflect your anxiety and whatsoever. So sometimes you may not understand your own reading, and my own reading might not make sense to me. So when I calm down, come back more centered, and pick out the cards to the same questions, then it will make sense. Yeah. So I feel like for myself, right, I may not do readings as how I do it for clients, but for myself, I do readings as to journal. I do readings for reflection. I do readings to gain like newer perspectives, but not find out specific answers. Yeah.
Now that like we have learned about this question, I want to ask you the next one. For an example, I like to write. So behind closed doors, what I usually do is I read a lot because that inspires me in terms of language when I write. It kind of like directs me towards the next story that I want to do. But for yourself, I'm very curious. Like everybody sees the cool part like of you, like, doing other people's reading. But behind closed doors, to be so good at your craft, what do you do?
A lot of inner work. I didn't know. I didn't know it came a lot of inner work. But then there's this quote, right, that says, you can only meet others how far you've met yourself, something along those lines. I feel like that makes a lot of sense when I practice tarot, because when I first started tarot, right, I was just Vishaalini doing cards, But then at some point, my cards got me to again reflect. So that's how I do readings for myself. It again got me to reflect. I went deeper to learn about myself. I go for therapy. I talk to people. I really try to understand the depths of me. And that would mean really in our community, we call it shadow work. Yeah. But essentially it just means like going deep within, understanding myself, accepting the good, bad, and the ugly parts of myself. And when I experience like certain things, and when I do all this inner work, right, I'm able to lend my cards to my clients. So there's a lot of this behind closed doors.
Do you feel like this inner work is also because of the fact that you were talking about energy being exchanged when you're doing readings, right? Sometimes when someone who has like I don't want to put it in a negative light, but let's say they come with like more sorrows and things like that. You know how like sometimes when I share something heavy with her, she might be happy that day, but she might go back home feeling heavier than how she was initially. How do you replenish your energy when the energy is being exchanged?
Number one, I feel like when I'm doing readings for my clients, right, I don't go in with the fear like I'm going to absorb their energy. I go in with the perspective, I'm going to hold space for you. I'm going to create an entire bubble for us where you and I are sitting inside and we're doing this together. So there's no fear of like, I'm going to go home carrying your sorrows or my sorrows. Well, yes, we all, when we interact with people, we have like an energy imprint of others, right? Then that's the next part is like, okay lah, I go like cleanse myself or whatsoever. But it's not because I want to like, with the intention like, alamak, your energy stick on me, I don't like it. No, it's just spiritual hygiene. But with that said, when I go into a reading, it's mainly I'm holding space for you. So if you want to like let out and you want to talk, you want to cry, please go ahead and feel free to. I'm here for you. Yeah, that's what my sessions are all about.
Can you share with us a reading that challenged your own beliefs or understanding of the tarot?
There are some clients who come to me with situations that may not align with Vishaalini the person, but in that moment, right, I think it's also ethical. I think like so there's this thing for readers, the code of ethics. Yeah, we practice that very closely. Like once we pick up our deck when we're doing the reading, all judgments is out of the door, nothing. But of course, if there is something that is really close to your heart, maybe something you have experienced similarly, and you're not ready to do that reading because you feel that you might not be in a good headspace to do it, then by all means, you may let your client know that I'm so sorry, I don't think so, I'm the best person to do this reading. Could I direct you to someone else?
Like you said, it really feels like you have to put yourself in a position where you understand yourself really well and your clients really well.
Yeah.
All right. My next question to you is, I think there's definitely people in the world who do not believe in tarot reading or like are very skeptical of their validity. I also want to bring my perspective into this point because I'm not somebody who's skeptical of it or who doesn't believe in it, but I've never gotten a tarot reading solely because I'm scared of one thing. I think a part of me likes being in the unknown because I feel like there's a sense of safety in knowing that, oh, I can make the result whatever I want it to be. But if I were to if someone were to look at me and go, okay, let's say, for example, if I'm getting a reading on my career and I'm pursuing something and then they go, that may not be the direction for you or that's not a good idea. I fear that then it's something that's going to trap me or it's constantly going to be on the forefront of my mind and I'm not going to be. And I think it's the fear that I have. Yeah. But I'm curious to hear your perspective on this and what you think about.
So tarot is not just a tool that fortune tells, this direction is good, this direction not good. Sometimes, okay, as an educator, that's my full time. When I do tarot, sometimes I remember the WH questions. I don't just ask what's going to happen, I ask that how can I get there? What are some of the challenges that may happen? Because like me, when I want something, I don't ask anybody, should I do it? Should I not do it or anything? I go for it. I try no matter what. And if I fail, okay I learn from it, I won't let something stop me from saying or even my deck, let's say my deck says, no, it's not a good idea. But that won't stop me. I will still I want to try for myself. If it turns out to be, it really wasn't a very good idea, then it's okay. It's a learning experience for me. So I really can understand when you are afraid something will say it's not good for you, then how? Then it increases your anxiety. So I would say then my approach to it would be we don't have to always be very outcome focused. What is the outcome going to be like? But more of understanding, okay, what are some of the potential challenges that I may face in this venture? How can I work around it? How can I work towards my goals better? I think these put you more in an empowered state versus asking, is this going to work out for me? Yes or no? Leave it open-ended. And let's just say the cards say, oh, it's not the best idea. Then we can also then ask the cards, okay, then how? What can I do? But always never limit yourself because of the cards.
I think the first time I think I have felt the urge to sit down and try was, and I'm not saying this because you're sitting down here and you're a guest in the show, was truly when I saw you give Priyanka a reading on the day for when we were celebrating International Women's Day, because I think the way you approached and you answered the question didn't give a definitive yes or no. It was like you said, it was very open-ended and it felt very holistic in that sense. And I also remember if there was a certain topic that you felt Priyanka was uncomfortable about, you were let's not dive into that then. And I feel like you said, it feels very client prioritized. You're I'm here for you and what you want to know and what you want to if you don't want to know a certain thing, that's completely fine. And I feel that creates such like you said, a very inviting and safe environment. But touching on the topic of figuring out that you might come across this reading that you're not ready to hear, has there been a reading where it has given you a sense of oh, this is going to be a more sensitive matter, and how do you then approach that situation to deliver the news to the person who's receiving the reading?
One would be, sometimes clients already know the answer. They just need to hear it from someone else or something else. Maybe they just need an affirmation. Maybe it's a decision they made and then they just need to know, did I do the right thing? Or maybe they themselves have a gut feeling and they want to clear it up. So sometimes clients already know their answers before coming in. Second is, when they ask questions, right, they may feel a little apprehensive. I would still deliver the message to them, because some of them, they might not be ready to hear the answers, but I'll still do it in a very kind, of course a kind way. I don't believe in I'm gonna just say it as it is. I will say the message, but kinder, and then I'll just wait. I will pause. I don't carry on talking, nothing. I really just wait. And then I see their body language. Even cry? Do I need to wait more? Is there anything? And then I'll check in. Are you okay to continue the reading? And then we'll continue.
has been on my mind ever since I saw Vishaalini walk in, and it's that you have a tarot card tattoo on your arm.
She got so excited.
And I'm so curious to know the meaning behind that tattoo.
During the circuit breaker period, like up until last year or so, I was having a lot of difficulties with faith. I grew up as a girl, like I used to sing a lot of like devotional songs. I'll pray every day. But then some things along the way made me lose that faith. I always thought that the universe was against me and I'm all alone. But then along the way with these experiences, over time I started to like build my faith again. Like I told myself, it's okay, Vishaalini. It's alright, Vishaalini. You can trust Vishaalini. And then I'll talk aloud to the universe and all that. And then when I started doing that, right, felt like the universe responded. The universe always responds, guys. And then slowly, my faith started to grow. Last time, younger Vishaalini would be like, why all these bad things happening to me? But then now I realize that, no, life is such that good and bad things will happen and then the universe will walk together with you. That renewed faith, I wanted to put that down. And this is actually the star card in the tarot. And it does talk about renewed faith. It talks about being vulnerable and being raw, feeling all those emotions. And I felt all of that.
We have talked so much about your journey and things like that. And then I thought to myself, how can I invite Vishaalini into the space and us not doing a reading together? I've done a reading on my own, but I thought it is very cool because when we discussed this topic, can time tell all answers? We did it because we felt like we were not in a very good space in like the last, I think, 4 years. But I feel so happy to say that at least in the last 2 years, like, because we worked together, we schooled together at a certain period of time, and our journey of like working together started when we were 18 until today, we still do work together and things like that. So we have really went through like the waves and everything. So I thought that when we invited you, I was like, there's no way, right, I can end this episode without doing like a reading. So today, we are going to do a reading with you.
Yes, let's do that.
But it's going to be a combined reading. Yeah. And we want to specifically ask you about our friendship / career wise, because Priya and I feel like we are at a point in our life whereby even our career is picking up, as in I'm talking about our joint venture together. So it feels like a very exciting time to be alive, but at the same time it also feels a very nerve-wracking as to like what's going to unfold in years to come. So the question that you want to put out there
is what our friendship entails for the next year.
Okay, so we're gonna do this. We'll pull like one card each to one card that represents your energy, one card that represents your energy, and we're gonna see like how your energies complement each other. And then we'll pull an oracle card to ask the cards like what are some things that you guys can continue doing for one another for your friendship to grow. Okay, would that work?
Yes.
Okay.
So exciting.
Yeah. So you'll pull one card for yourself first. Okay, so I'll start with the oracle card first, okay? So the card you got was extraordinary, and you can see there's like a peacock there. And the card read, there's a wild and impetuous uniqueness to you that deserves to be honored. And I feel like this is like a representation of both your energy. Both of you bring very unique qualities forward. You know, while you guys may be similar in certain aspects, there may be parts of you that are very different from one another. And that difference, right, is the one that creates the magic. It makes everything very extraordinary. Yeah. So there's this foundation of like, okay, you guys complement one another, but then there's also the other layer, right, where the differences bring a lot of like excitement. Yeah. So that's something that you guys can continue to do, like recognize that, hey, you know what, our differences is not here to like bring us down or you know, our differences is not here to cause like conflicts between us, but it's really something to tap on and to build on. So for yourself, you got the King of Wands over here. So for me, the King of Wands is a person who has a vision, like a visionary, you know, like a very passionate, very driven sense of energy that he has. And for yourself, you have the Knight of Pentacles. So for the Knight of Pentacles, okay, what I'm getting right for yourself is that sometimes when you want to make like certain moves, right, you may hesitate. You know, you may hesitate and like, okay, I don't know whether I want to do it or not, you know, but then you want to try. You want to try, but then there's this sense of like hesitation. Whereas for yourself, right, you're like, okay, we have this, what's next? What can we do? And I think that when you put these two energies together, right, it really makes all your plans come into fruition. Yeah, so there's someone that both of you are able to help each other see the long-term vision and at the same time help each other through the baby steps to get there. A lot of people out there, right, they'll be at awe of the friendship that you have. You know, to them, like, this is like, wow, it's so nice, you know, like, I wish I had something like that. There are people who may have that type of like feelings towards the friendship you have. The cards are coming in to say that you may already recognize some people who are like that, and it may be hard for you or even for us to like extend compassion towards people who think like bad about us, right? So the cards are coming in to say that, okay, you know what? Maybe we can recognize that this is something that perhaps is missing in their life. And that's why they are feeling the way they are feeling towards us. And I think once we recognize that, right, it'll be easier to move away from these people. In terms of like your future like ventures together in the upcoming year, right, the cards are coming in to say that communication is very key. Yeah, it's very, very key. So try to keep your communication really transparent and don't wait on telling your friend something. So let's just say there's a certain idea or there's a certain perspective that you have, and then we're like, okay, I tell later lah, or never mind lah, and I talk to her, let her know, that type of thing. Try to put force to your friend, like, hey, there's this thing I want to talk to you about. Can we talk about it like at this time, so that you also don't forget about it and then you also don't forget about it. Yeah, because I feel like when there's supposed to be some conversations to be had, and then when that moment is missed, right, it can be easily misinterpreted as like, why you never tell me beforehand? Yeah, there are going to be opportunities for you guys to try new things, and it may be very brand new. You may not understand it, you know, and the cards are coming in to say that it's okay if you don't understand. Then while it may feel like, hey, I don't understand it, these are all sitting at the back burner, you might feel like, okay, I need to like go forward and like handle it immediately. And the cards are coming to say that when that happens during your ventures together, right, again, just communicate. Yeah, and I think that would be very helpful, because I feel like maybe one of you, either one of you might be very new to you, or you may not understand it. So you can just wait for your partner to come and like your friend to come and like explain it to you later, or like ask questions about it. Don't have to do it all on your own, because when that happens, right, sometimes by accident you might add on like more problems when you tackle it on your own. So it'd be good to have like a joint discussion first and then go about doing it. Yeah, that's about the venture together.
I just feel like we couldn't have met you at a better timing.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I have the same feeling as well.
Yeah, because to be very, very honest, it has been personally very tough for me in the last 1 month-ish. And then when I finally chose, like what you are exactly reading, when I finally chose to like communicate with her, it was also very tough for me. And then after that, I went through a spiral of like, should I have not communicated this? Should I have just kept it in? But now that what you are saying is giving me a little bit of faith of like, thank God I communicated.
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day that I think when we communicate, right, it also helps our friends or the people in the relationship with us to know that we are in this together. Yeah, so and it can be very scary to communicate, to voice out something. But I think on the bright side of things, right, when we do, we know that we have this assurance like, hey, they actually also the same. We are in the same team together. Yeah, and things are going to be okay, type of thing. Yeah. So that's how the cards are coming in to say over here. And then you were asking about your friendship, right?
Yeah.
Both of you are growing to be very strong individuals. So one of you got the Emperor, you got the Emperor, you got the Queen of Wands. So for the Emperor, I feel like there's a lot of like fiery energy surrounding you.
Wow.
Fiery energy. Got the King of Wands earlier as well. So I feel like I really feel like someone who can really like have foresight, like you really think ahead, you know, and you're able to like build that foundation like ground up, you know. And then there's also yourself. You got the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is a very like sociable person, very like bubbly, putting herself out there. But then there's also an element of you, because there's this little cat over here, right?
Okay.
There's this element of you that maybe not people get to see also. Yeah. And I feel like when it comes to your friendship in the future, right, is to really just lean onto one another for that support. Because as you're growing, right, you may be growing, evolving through your individual personalities. You know, how you might be now, you may not be the same later. Yeah. So always give that room to grow. Yeah, always remember that both of us are always going to be in like different phases of our life. It doesn't mean that I know you for this many years means I fully know you already. No, there's also going to be moments where you'll be learning new things about each other, and that's just going to reinforce your friendship. So continue that. Continue getting to know one another more.
Like I feel like as you're narrating like the personalities, like I'm starting to like figure out like in which ways like you are that card and in which ways I am, because I feel like we have a very like distinctive part that we play into this friendship specifically, and how like it like feeds into like doing having a career together as well, because I think like Priyanka is a very creative like soul, and she knows what she wants, but I think she's also somebody who needs to like prepare for all kinds of like plan Bs, plan Cs, plan Ds before she like approaches a matter. She needs that guarantee of like everything is going to be like fine. And then I hope like what I bring to the friendship is to sort of like ground that and to be able to be like, you know, let's just go start and like, let's just see where this goes once like, you know, once we've already started it.
Yeah.
And like,
and I think like with the Emperor, I'm able to see that you can do that to like help Priyanka. Like I think both of you have long-term visions. One might be a little bit more cautious, and then the other like I see it, we can do it, you know, it's there. So I feel like it's really just guiding one another. Yeah. In the next coming year, right, definitely there will be like a lot of like changes, transformations that might be happening individually, and at that time you guys may question yourself like, am I worth doing it or not? Do I have it in me or not? There'll be a lot of like self-doubts lah. So the cards are coming in to let you know that always ask the universe to remind you who you are, and that you are love itself, and that you have a lot of divinity within you. There's a lot of like beauty within you. And the cards are coming in to say that, you know what, it's okay. You don't have to question yourself. Like just trust the process, trust the changes that are happening, trust the transformations that are about to happen for you in the coming year. And you will have a lot of like beautiful results out of that. I hope that was helpful.
It was. Like I said, right, I think
Yeah.
we couldn't have met you like at a better timing, like at a time that we had some questions and like things were a bit off. Yeah. So thank you so much again for joining us. It was wonderful to speak to you on the podcast. It was wonderful to go through this experience.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much.
It's finally time for the most bittersweet moment of Sit Still Look Pretty, and that is our closing segment. Miss Priyanka, it's time to lead us into the quote of the month.
I really like this month's quote a lot, and I hope you enjoy it too. Here it goes. Today, I trust that just being is enough, rather than making myself crazy and tired by trying to figure out the answer or see the picture or work out how it will all work out at the end of the day. I choose instead to focus my energy on staying present, enjoying each moment as it presents itself. I open my eyes to life as it presents itself. I open my eyes to life as it is right now. I know the gift of clarity will come when the time is right.
Very beautiful. I have to say, this feels more like a mantra than a quote, because I think as human beings, we get like too invested and too excited to like always like stay in one moment for too long. But I think there is a certain amount of like joy that happens when you're fully present in a moment. And I think I felt it more than ever in Bali, that joy of just enjoying each moment for what it is. And I definitely think it's something that people should adapt to more often.
Yeah, I think like for myself, this quote will always hit times 2 harder, because I'm always the kind of person who's like, I want answer now, you know, like tell me why X, Y, Z, Z happened like right now. But I'm also starting to realize that not every time you will get the answer to all the questions that you have, you know. So like during these moments, I always tell myself, just lean into the present situation, because one fine day, what you have right now, touch wood, it sounds so sad to say, you might not have it like in 2 or 3 years down the road, because things constantly keeps changing, right? So in that aspect, I feel, why are we all like digging for answers and being like, I want to know like why this exact thing happened in my life like this particular way? Like just stop. You know, like just lean into like the present situation and just enjoy yourself. Like what you say, I think it's easier to do it when you're having fun. For an example, when we were in Bali, it's like every morning you wake up, go inside a cafe and be like, today I want iced vanilla latte. But then, when you're going through a hard time,
That's
for
true.
example, when
Yeah.
you're in Singapore reporting to work every day at 9 a.m.
Sorry for personal experience now.
Yeah, and then it's a fixed routine. Of course, leaning into your present does not come easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I'm just trying to say is just go. I guess the code is more of take it day by day, if anything at all. And then just keep hoping and praying that you're walking in the right direction. If you're a good person, the light will find you.
Oh, now you're making people question whether you're a good person or not.
That's the end of an episode. Thank you for joining us.
All right, beautifully ended. I think I should just say bye now, that should be the end. But anyway, thank you to all the listeners who have joined us after a good 2 months. We are very excited to be back, and I hope that you guys are excited to be back as well. We definitely, I think, will be coming up with more juicy episodes in the future for sure. We will catch you guys with another guest and a new cup of tea in the next episode. This is Priya.
And Priyanka.
On Sit Still, Look Pretty, 'cause girl, you're more than a quick gaze.